Hi, this is Zach,
And this is Patrick,
and welcome to Pipecast.
where we pipe up for pipes and pipe down for what? Well, finally got some sunshine.
Yeah, man, the warm weather is back after a blitz of tornadoes and kind of nasty weather.
I feel like
Finally hit spring, it sounds like.
this should be changed to weathercast because that's about all we talk about.
Only
That's
at
all
the
we
beginning.
complain.
Only at the beginning. We do a quick complaint. For those of you who don't know, out in anywhere north or of the Mason-Dixon line or west of the Mississippi River, Southerners have a tendency to talk about the weather, but not necessarily talk about it as much as just complain all to hell about it. Like just how nightmarish it is. Even if it's pleasant outside, there's going to be some sort of twinge of, oh, I missed this, I missed that, or I'm longing for this, I'm longing for that. It's all a complaint.
Just a bunch of complainers. That's all we are.
Well, I'm assuming that has something to do with losing that war.
Mm-hmm. Coming in second place. You're just the first loser. I had a buddy. He was from Wisconsin. And I went up there one time to watch a football game. And that was one of the things I remember most about that was meeting his dad and being like, yeah, I don't know what it is with y'all and y'all's Confederate statues. I mean, this looks like a bunch of second place trophies to me. So, yeah, I was like, well, I guess you got a point there.
Well, it's hard to argue when you're the loser.
Yeah.
But, so man, what are you smoking on today?
Well, hold on, you start first. Then I'll jump into what I got.
Well,
You got a story to tell about mine.
all right. That sounds good. So what I got today is I've got a, it looks like it's like a long calabash-like Dunhill pipe, and I'm smoking in it HH Latakia flake from McBaron, which is a pretty amazing little flake. You need to dry it a little bit, but still has that woodsy dark, kind of smoky robustness that you get from the Cyprian Latakia, and it's got that kind of soury, spicy note from the Oriental tobacco, and I think a little burley added in, and some Virginia for added smoke and a little sweetness. But it's totally worth it, and it's really good. It's not HH Syrian.
Yeah. Which we still need to do like a bonus, like back-to-back smoke of that one day. Like smoke one of them first and the other right after. A double bowl.
One of the things I can tell you about the HH Latakia flake, if you guys are curious about trying it, it's very good. Dry it for 15 minutes on a paper towel or something, or like wrap it in a handkerchief or something and get some of the moisture out. And then, but you're going to want to smoke it really slow because the burn rate on it's really quick and it can get on top of you. So it definitely requires you to be a little bit more of a sipper than a puffer.
Well, I am in a little old stumpy fella today, and I got Stonehaven from Esoterica.
Stonehaven.
A little gift from Zach.
Yep.
So, you got a long adventure with this blend.
Mm-hmm. So, Stonehaven is one of those. This story is going to have such an anticlimactic ending, but Stonehaven for me was kind of the forbidden fruit tobacco, the one you could never get a hold of. I'd actually gotten an 8-ounce bag of Penzance. I've smoked most of the Esoterica blends outside of their aromatic blends, and Dorchester, Dunbar, Margate, Pembroke's really good, and Soda Bed, Penzance, but I never had an opportunity to get a hold of Stonehaven, and I hunted Stonehaven, and those of you who are on a Esoterica quest can relate. It's basically nowhere. You just can't find it anywhere. You get very lucky if you get a hold of it online, but I've had the most success finding Esoterica blends in brick and mortar stores. And but anyway, so I've been looking for this. I've been on a quest for it since I've pretty much been a pipe smoker. So for sure about a decade. I've been wanting it ever since I saw a video by Holy Smoking Pipe Padre on YouTube. Well, shout out to him. He probably has no idea who we are, but like his videos early on, I enjoyed watching them. Him and Bruno, but I don't think Bruno actually. I think he's actually taken down all his videos, which is kind of sad. But I don't think there's anything left of the Bruno videos or like Pipe's Lawyer. Some of the older YouTube pipe community people will know who I'm talking about. But anyway, Holy Smoking Pipe Padre, he had done a review on Stonehaven, and Bruno had done one as well. And I was so enraptured by their review that I was like immediately on a quest to find it. And other people had done, I think it's called the Dark Flake by JF Germain, which is sort of a separate branding, but essentially it's the same flake. And I really wanted to get a hold of one of them. I've smoked the King Charles mixture by JF Germain, but I've never gotten close to Stonehaven or, and anywhere, not even a sample. Not anyone would, even had it to lend it or I could purchase it off of them. So basically, you scour the web, you look under every nook and cranny, and I've basically given up. But I walked into my brick and mortar store back in December, and sure enough, he said, I think we're getting a esoteric shipment in a couple of days. Maybe check back and see what we get, because I'd asked him about Stonehaven, and I said okay. So I decided, you know what, I'm just going to go in there every single day after work and be like, you got anything? Nope, see you later. The next day I went in, and there it was, an 8-ounce bag of Stonehaven sitting on the shelf, the only bag left. So of course, you hit those high C notes, that light shined down on me from glory, and I picked up the bag and purchased it. And then I didn't do anything with it for 3 months because I couldn't figure out a reason why I should smoke it. I had a pipe laid aside that I was going to devote to Stonehaven, and did. It was a Castello 55 shape, a little chinny style pipe, and I just couldn't figure out what to do. So anyway, my wife and I been trying to have a kid, and recently she got pregnant. So I decided to clip open the bag, and I was going to kind of smoke it in honor of my kid. And I lit it up. I put it in my Castello. I was pretty excited about it, and it's okay. Smells like points to Patrick. It does smell very much like banana nut bread. It's got a very sweet kind of oat-like smell to it. It smokes really good. It's sweet. Perfect burn every single time. All the mechanics of the tobacco are dead on. But it's, as far as taste and stuff, I'm not blown away. I would much prefer other tobaccos. I think St. James Parish is really good. Of course, my personal favorite flake tobacco is Reiner Gold. I think that's probably the best flake. It's got Perique in Virginia, and then a little white burley in it. It's probably my favorite smoke. Kind of like the island smoke. I think we had discussed this one day at work. If you could have one tobacco on an island, what would you take with you? Mine would probably definitely be Reiner Gold. I think it's the perfect blend.
I do like Reiner Gold from what I remember. As far as Stonehaven goes, it's nice. Like you were talking about the mechanics of it all. I had a bowl earlier today, and man, you talk about that Esoterica ash. I think this does it better than any of them.
Yep.
Like, maybe just because of how thin the flakes are. It's almost, if you rub it out too much, it almost turns to dust. Or it could.
It could, yeah.
And, but no, I'm sort of in the same boat with you. I like it. Of the Esoterica I have had, I would put Pembroke and Soda Bed above it. As far as my personal liking. I don't know, it's probably equal with Margate. I hadn't been too impressed with Margate. It's not bad. I think Pembroke is superior.
Pembroke's cognac topping just has such a nice flavor that really melds so well with the English tobacco. As a matter of fact, I'm of the opinion that you should call and soda bed Pembroke and make Pembroke and soda bed because it's such a lovely English with a topping, cognac topping. It seems like something I would want to smoke before I go to bed. It's definitely English, or a Latakia Ford blend, but that aromatic quality that comes with the cognac is just perfect.
Really good stuff.
It's surprising. I mean, people do seem to forget about Margate, which, as we know from Esoterica, is Pembroke. I think you have a little distaste in that review. You don't think they're quite similar, but like it just shows you what that cognac really puts forward on it. Now I could be wrong.
Yeah.
If I'm wrong, you guys make sure you leave me a comment and tell me that I'm wrong because I've believed for a long time that I've known that Pembroke and Margate are the same mixture. Just Pembroke has the added cognac topping, but man, is it delicious!
Yeah, but I have to say Pembroke is my favorite of the Esotericas so far. Still, I mean, I like Dunbar, and I'm really looking forward to trying Dorchester. But no, yeah, Pembroke. I don't know if you can really top it. I mean, of course you can top it. It's been topped. But puns. But oh yeah. Now I know I've gone a little bit since having my favorite haunted bookshop. So I don't know yet. My tastes may have changed in trying all this different stuff. And
it's funny because I was talking. I wasn't talking. I was eavesdropping on a conversation in a pipe shop. Two old-timey pipe smokers were talking about how much they hated Burley.
Yeah.
Because it just gets on top of them.
Yeah.
It just cracks me up that you're, as a new pipe smoker, well, relatively new, you know what, in terms of pipe smoking, like, as much information as you absorbed and as many tobaccos you and I've ran through together, you're not, I wouldn't call you new or amateurish anymore. We're gonna have to get someone else in here, get a second nubile opinion.
It's young in age, I guess.
Young in age. So, but ultimately, like, I thought it was so funny because you really hit those Burley-based tobaccos so well, and they really are the ones that have the knockout punches, according to like some of the older guys.
Really? See let me think here. So I've been smoking a pipe regularly since December, and or it became a hobby in December, and
a regular hobby.
Yeah.
For you guys, we don't have to retread old podcasts, but Patrick, on and off for a year, had been smoking.
Yeah. But I mean, I think the only thing I had smoked in that year was what's it called, Blue Note.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I only had a corn cob. So, like, yeah. I knew it. I was into the world, but I didn't. I wasn't a part of it. So,
and even though I try to like tell people to not smoke aromatics out of the gate, I think they can get a lot more flavor and there's a lot more nuance to English Balkan. Really, you don't want to get them hooked on to Virginia or a Virginia Perique or a Virginia Burley base early, but a Oriental Ford, a Latakia Ford blend really is okay for a new beginner, but they always seem to go towards the aromatics because that's really what you fall in love with, is that essential aroma that you smell from an old timer, usually smoking away at like Captain Black or some sort of vanilla base, but it really just tastes really, I mean, I don't want to say horrible. It has a blandness to the tobacco.
Yeah.
You're not really getting anything out of it, and I think people who want to get into it, who want to stick with it, if you're trying to foster someone along their pipe hobby adventure, definitely start them with something a little bit more robust. It might come off as, they're going to jump ship immediately, but yeah, I didn't. I mean, the first blend, I remember, the first blend I was introduced at my pipe shop, I remember because I was talking to the guy, he still sells pipes to me. To this day, I was talking to him about it, Robert, and he said, I told him, the first blend you ever recommended was Artisan's Blend by Ashton. And I have him as, that's pretty much akin to Nightcap. It's the equivalency. And I've been smoking ever since. I was how old am I now? It's 13 years ago.
Oh wow. I got 2 points of that. And I'll get back to them here, but no, yeah. So as far as like what'll get on top of you and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, ever since December I've been going, and the only time that something has really gotten on top of me and is one of those like I don't know what I'm gonna do kind of moments was it was a straight Virginia blend. That's the only time and I've smoked every type of blend since that moment, and I don't know if it was just because it was one of my first few smokes, or maybe just that day. Maybe for some reason I didn't went on a full stomach as I normally am, but yeah, that's the only time that one has gotten really on top of me. Now this guy, Stonehaven, I thought was going to get a hold of me today earlier when I had that first bowl, because I had one of those like sort of you feel your teeth pulsing.
Yeah.
I had one of those
Right.
moments like halfway through it, but it didn't really do anything. But you were talking about beginners sort of latch onto that aromatic stuff. I wonder if that's more of an American thing. Like I wonder if over in Europe, England, Ireland, and places like that, Belgium or not Belgium, Germany, places like that. I wonder if English blends are more of the beginner. I wonder. I mean, I don't know.
I'd say it probably isn't. I mean, if you've smoked some of the McBaron blends, they're very sweet. It doesn't mean all of them are. Obviously, the HH line is very natural and more tobacco-oriented flavors. But if they're, I mean, you can look at tobaccoreviews.com. If their lines are any indication, they do have a lot of aromatic blends, it seems.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the English blends. And the English blends, one day I'll do a history on Lakeland and the laws that sort of came about because of tobacco regulation and what you could put on tobacco in the 19th century that had a lot of effect on what was allowed to be topped and what was allowed to be blended with tobacco. I mean, that's where you get these Tocqueville beans and licorice and rose water and floral flavors. But outside of that, I mean, I think the English blends, as far as their aromatics, the Lakeland versions are a little subtler. The German and the American blends are pretty robust. I'm sure that's where people get their start out. And not to say, this is not a knock. This is not, I love aromatic blends. You just have to be cautious. My favorite aromatic blend is Grousemore by Samuel Gawith. It's a lemongrass flavored tobacco, and I think it pairs super well in the springtime with like a cup of tea. It's just a light, refreshing, light Virginia aromatic. I love it. But I think people, they smell what is essentially over-the-counter tobaccos, and that's where they start. And if they're lucky, they'll have someone that they meet who will introduce them to English vapor, and they can continue on their journey. But I think typically they stop around the over-the-counter drugstore tobaccos, and you really can't develop beyond that, especially develop your taste buds. I mean, you'll see a lot of old timers who are just basically old cigarette smokers or cigar smokers who just wanted an alternative to it, picking up the tobacco and putting it in a corn cob or some cheap Dr. Grabo pipe or something. But as far as real rich tobacco flavor, it seems like no beginner ever starts there. They always start with something sweeter because they think it's more palatable. And, palatable or not, I would suggest not. That's typically the road that people start on. It's just crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, the that pipe you're smoking now, you said you had to clean it up a little bit, didn't you?
Yeah. So I pulled out of my, I guess, archive of old pipes. My first pipe that I ever really purchased that I was proud of. I remember because I'd saved up for a while and I wanted I'd worked with a Peterson pipe for a long time, and I wanted something else to add to my collection. Something because the Peterson was given to me, and I thought that I wanted to go ahead and purchase a pipe. And of course, I didn't know anything about pipes at the time, so I went to a local tobacconist, and he was kind of showing me around, and he said, "Well, the best place to start for someone who's not really kind of like on the edge of being in the hobby, but sort of not, who has light pocket change, because pipes can be expensive. Even back 13 years ago, they were still kind of pricey. And he goes, you should start with an estate pipe. And I said, okay, well, what do you recommend? And he goes, well, this is a good one. And he pulled up this long calabash-esque Dunhill pipe. I didn't even know what a Dunhill was at the time. I was like, Dunhill, what a stupid name. You don't really think about. You're just like, that's a peculiar way of naming. I didn't know. I didn't know Alfred Dunhill. I didn't know the history of it. I didn't even really know what nightcap was. Um, I just was like, oh, okay, so Dunhill. That's interesting. Little did I know that basically I was buying the Rolls Royce of pipes as my first purchase. And he had this estate pipe. It was actually kind of dirty. It's a vulcanite stem, very long pipe, and it's got a shell bowl on it, dark, and a silver band. And I think he wanted $150 for it, and I was like, hey, I can afford that. So he said it's a very nice pipe. I didn't really get that at the time. I was just like, okay. So I purchased it. I liked the way it looked. It had a lot of oxidation at the end of the vulcanite stem. And so vulcanite, for those of you who don't know, we'll do a quick little history on stems. At the beginning of pipe smoking, really, you just carve out a rock. This would have been kind of a more native way of doing things. You carve out a rock, you get a little bowl going and kind of a shank and really the shank is the stem at that point, and you smoke your tobacco. And then later on, other materials were added, clay. Also, you can still use stone, corn, and the stems were reeds or bamboo, shoots that you put in, and that would be your stem / shank. Those burned out and stuff. But over the course of time and the way people are, we started creating more and more ornate material to go with our pipes. So you'd get meerschaum, and then with a meerschaum bowl, you would get an amber stem, which is apparently really difficult to work with, especially now. I don't think anybody really even works in amber stems anymore. But they're very fragile, ornate, more of an heirloom piece. And then over time from that, rubber became more available. And with rubber, you could take that material and blend it with sulfur and some other added things, and you would get vulcanite. And vulcanite is a rubber stem with a lot of sulfur, and it can be manipulated fairly easily, carved down, filed down, and then heated up and manipulated in terms of putting your bend into your stem. And then, of course, lucite and acrylic plastic showed up later. But we'll talk about vulcanite. So vulcanite, because of the sulfur content in it, it oxidizes really quickly. The sulfur will actually come to the surface, and it'll make this nasty brown-green tint on a black stem. And I've just pretty much lived with this since I bought it. They'd kind of gotten as much of it out as they could. I remember I bought some Brevia pipe sweetener, stem sweetener, and used it as like an oil, material. And I would rub it in, but it would never do anything. So I was scouring the web as I do, and found a video on pipe restoration. And I was like, well, I wonder how this guy's going to get this oxidation out of this vulcanite stem, because any restoration is going to go on older pipes. And really, I don't know how, at the time, I had no idea how you would even get that out. But the guy did something interesting. He took OxyClean and Tupperware, box or whatever, put OxyClean in it, put water in it, threw his pipe stem in it, and left it overnight. And then he pulls it out the next day, and he takes a magic eraser from Mr. Clean or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And you can just rub, because it's like a microfiber. It's like an abrasive. And it will just clean off all of that oxidation. So I had oxidation about an inch down from my stem where the button is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's I cleaned it all off, and it looked real nice and black. And then I took some of that Brevia that I still had left over from 12 years ago, I guess. I just found it, and I polished it with a cotton rag, and sure enough, man, the stem looks brand new. This is an '05 or an '06 pipe, so I mean, it's been around for longer than a decade. I think it's an '05. I think I got it. I liked it because it was the year I graduated high school, and a when I say I got it, I mean it was an estate pipe, and it just so happened that it was the year I graduated high school, so the year before, so about a year old. But I guess the guy who has it, because the sulfur will oxidate a lot harder. I know people who smoke vulcanite stems. There are people who do not like it. It gets an immediate bitterness in their mouth, and it's because of the pH levels in their mouth and the vulcanite sulfur will actually have a little chemical reaction. It'll turn the stem green, and then it just gives them this nasty, acrid flavor in their mouth. Now, it doesn't affect me, but I never really liked how oxidized it was. But let me tell you guys, like that OxyClean on a vulcanite stem to clean it up it works. It's crazy. With a little magic eraser, their little cube, you can just take a pair of scissors and clip it and just rub, and then take you a little. You probably should get a polishing agent. I'm not. I use the Brevia one. I think you can get it on smokingpipes.com. A little tube will go a long way, but there's probably other polishing agents you can use on material, and then just clean it up. She's ready to go. She smokes like a dream still.
It is a beautiful pipe.
I love this pipe.
I didn't even realize when I've looked at your collection before. I didn't realize that was a Dunhill, or maybe you might have said it. I didn't pay attention, but or it went over me. But
a lot of people say that everyone should own a Dunhill. I don't know if they're that important, but it is sort of a kind of a rite of passage to have one for like a really. I think a Dunhill pipe, if we still lived in a society that was respectable, and not this horror show that we call life now. But no, if it would be cool if I retired one day from a job and my retirement gift was a Dunhill pipe. I think that would be cool. Mm-hmm. I'd much prefer a pipe than a watch or something. I don't even know if they do watches or anything like that anymore.
Well, to say it's sort of, in my opinion, I'm just stating a matter of fact opinion that just came to me. It seems sort of ironic that you would give a watch to someone who's retiring. It's like they don't need a watch anymore. What are they going to use it now for? Yeah. I mean, you know what I mean? Now life is so do with what you will. There is no time anymore. But
that's interesting. I never thought about that. I guess there really isn't a necessity for it.
And then of course add on this day and age. I mean, watches are more of a fashion statement than an actual.
Well, now they definitely are jewelry. 100%. Yeah.
Because with cell phones, I mean, what's the point? Sort of going a little bit more, going a little bit off topic, but back to your talking about the pH levels and stuff. I was talking to someone at work, and they were saying, and I haven't really looked into this kind of stuff, so it's news to me. It may not be to you or the listeners, but supposedly, if you are the healthiest you can be, and you have the healthiest stomach, the pH level in your stomach will allow you to eat raw meat, and it doesn't hurt you.
Huh.
Because something about the pH levels in your stomach would kill any of the bacteria.
I don't know about that, but I know that meat tartare is popular. I think you can only do it in Canada, but it's just raw meat. They serve raw meat to you, and that's what you eat. And I really want to do it really badly. I don't know if my wife would let me do something like that. We're expecting a kid, and I'm sure I'd get some sort of like nasty worm or something. But man, that just sounds awesome to me.
Well, if you get you a healthy stomach, apparently it's no risk. The closest I've had to like raw meat is, and again, it wasn't raw when I eat it, but again, this is just telling you how close I've gotten to that is eating pho. I mean, because I think the normal way you cook pho is unless it's chicken, if it's beef, then you're fine. They throw it into the broth uncooked and let the broth just cook it, and boom, you're ready to eat it.
Pho's really good.
Oh yeah, I like pho. Now, granted, I'm more of a chicken pho guy, so, but I've had steak.
That's cool.
Yeah, pho guy, I guess it would be chicken pho. But no, yeah. I don't know. I just thought that was weird. You brought up that pH level stuff. But no, yeah, that is a nice pipe. I don't know if I'll ever get a Dunhill. Maybe one day It might be an estate one, maybe a case like yours.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I may go into a brick and mortar shop and just see an estate one for a good price, and maybe like, yeah, we'll go ahead.
And are they necessary? Absolutely not. Like, this is not tobacco is necessary
Yeah.
for pipe smoking. Make no mistake, the way in which you smoke tobacco is, or the material you use to smoke tobacco is irrelevant
Yeah.
to smoking tobacco. Like, that's all. The only necessary thing is tobacco, in my opinion. But you know, I mean, if you're a collector or connoisseur, you like the way pipes are, sure. Like I said, I mean, I only have the one Dunhill. That shows you how expensive and how highly I think of them. I've only got the one, and I probably won't buy another, to my knowledge. You know,
Yeah.
I think that there's some offshoots that happen in Dunhill. Fern down pipes, Ashton pipes, um, Sassini pipes. They're offshoots of the Dunhill. They worked for Dunhill, and then they sort of became their own thing. I think you're going to get more bang for your buck, and you're going to get a little bit more substantial pipe as far as a workhorse pipe if you buy a Sassini or an Ashton or a Fern down. My next pipe will be a Fern down pipe. So it's the only one of the 3 offshoots that I don't have. So.
I think my plan, and it's subject to change, like a lot of my plans are. My plan, probably moving forward, is not being snobby about American-made stuff, but I think from here on out, maybe every year, every 2 years, I'm just gonna get a new Boswell.
Boswell's a good pipe.
Yeah.
They make a super great pipe. Of course, I just broke my Boswell the other day because I'm an idiot. I broke my Prince. But Boswell, for those of you who are Boswell owners and have done something stupid like snapped the tenon inside the shank of your pipe, it happens. It happens to the best of us. Or the worst of us, because I've done this more than once, so whatever. Boswell has the ability to ship your pipe out to them, and they have a nice little price guide, and he will fix it up for you. So
That's nice.
I looked it up the other day, and I plan on shipping him out Prince, and I'm actually going to spend a little extra money and ask him to make me another stems. So when I break this one, inevitably, I won't break the other one.
Well, that is funny. Like, you know, we you and me both speak highly of Boswell, and then, you know, today I noticed my little crack in the, what's that little part called?
You talking about the air chamber hole?
Yeah, the hole that goes from the bowl to
The drill hole,
yeah, the drill hole. I got looks like a little crack above it, you know, and I mean, that, I don't think that's anything to do with him or his work. It's probably just the briar.
Probably.
Just the way it is. I mean, it's like how it is with all stuff that humans, when we take, you know, we take this material and we mold it to what we want. You know, it's still, you know, it's a natural material. Sometimes it does things that we don't foresee happening.
Right.
But no, I mean, I've had this for maybe 2 months now, and it is definitely my workhorse pipe. You know, and all my other ones are Petersons, and I love them. I love Petersons to death. But this guy, I guess it's just the size of it as a whole, and then the size of the bowl. It's just a perfect,
Oh yeah.
it's the perfect smoke for me, as far as length and quality.
I love a Boswell pipe, but the thing about the Boswell pipes, you know, I think if you were someone who just enjoyed tobacco, then you could buy 3 pipes a year, and you probably wouldn't even scratch the surface of a middle grade pipe, and what you could do, if you're interested, for $200, you could have 2 great pipes every year, no matter what, and that would be a Boswell pipe, because they average between $160 to $200. So obviously, if you want to spend a little bit more, it would be a little bit more than $200 a year. But usually, I mean, the ones that I really, really like, the ones that I've loved and spent money on, are about $160. And then the Bones pipe, those Bones pipes are only $40, man, and they're great pipes.
Mm-hmm.
And then you could throw in a corn cob, and then over time, in 3 years, if you did that, you would have that plus a corn cob would be a 7-day rotation in 3 years. That's not even that bad.
Yeah, and even if you wanted to go, other country origin countries, I mean, you could do a Boswell 1 year, you get $100 or $80 Peterson the next year.
Mm-hmm.
You get you $100 Savinelli the next year if you want it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you could expand and stay in that $100 or $200 a year range, and still get a Bones pipe here and there, get a corn cob, or you can take the Zach route, just get you a Mearship and just go to town, get one and just go.
Mm-hmm.
But like the problem with me, and I think it's similarly a problem with you, is I'm a collector. I like collecting things.
That's the thing. Is like, I mean, I love collection. Like it's more addicting than nicotine could ever be, because there's something to getting a new pipe. If you love it, that's what you want to do.
And the sort of like not the silver lining, I guess the opposite of the silver lining, the double negative, I guess, of pipe smoking is that your collection can extend past your pipes into the tobacco itself.
Mm-hmm.
The
double negative. That's true, though.
It's like, I got 10 pipes sitting out here, but I got 30 things of 10, or I'm just hypothetically speaking.
Mm-hmm.
So like 30 tins of tobacco, 100 tins of tobacco. Like it's you wouldn't think it, but it could get a very expensive. It could be a very expensive hobby.
It very quickly. Based on the person is going to be. I mean, the person alone is going to dictate how much the hobby is going to be.
And that also makes it probably one of the best hobbies, because it can reach your a lower middle class all the way up to upper class as far as your budget and what you're willing to spend on pipes and pipe tobacco.
Mm-hmm.
It stretches the entire genre. If you want 5 brand new Dunhills, you can afford it. You can do it.
Oh yeah.
If you're happy with just a $40 Bones pipe once every year, you may burn it out if that's the only one you got. But you can do that. You could buy an 8-ounce tin of tobacco, and depending on how much you smoke, that could last you a year. Or you could buy several, just cellar them up.
That's what's surprising me, is that when I hear people who can go through a 2-ounce tin of tobacco within a week or two, that blows my mind. It's like, well, I don't smoke nearly as much as they do, apparently.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like other, YouTube tobacco reviewers, some of them go through the tin to test it. And, in a week's time, I'm like, dadgum. I have, like I said, I probably have about 20, 30 different.
I mean, that's pretty. I mean, because you think about it, in 8 weeks, that's a pound of tobacco.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I have not gone through an entire thing that I bought yet. Granted, I bought a lot, and I've tried almost every single one of them, but, still not gone through them. But then again, I don't smoke an awful lot. I mean, I probably smoke the bare minimum to be called a pipe smoker.
Right.
Anywhere from twice a week to 5-6 times a week. Just depending on how the week is.
Now, I will say this, though. This Latakia flake that you got me. Oh, by the way, guys, if you didn't know, Patrick bought me Latakia flake for my birthday. It was really cool of him, because I know he'd heard me say I wanted to try it. So he's a snoopy little devil. But I'm probably going to buy a pound of the stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I probably will. I'll probably buy a pound of it and a pound of the Balkan blend.
I want to try the Balkan blend.
I plan on getting it next time I'm at the store, so you can split it. I know you've got some of the Acadian. I'd like to try sometime.
Oh, yeah, I do. Yeah,
and we're talking about the HH line. There's the HH Acadian, there's HH Balkan blend, and there's HH Latakia flake. And of course, you heard us talk about HH Syrian Latakia, vintage Syrian.
Yeah. And then there's others too that I'm sort of want to try. Like, was it is there Dark Kentucky or Bold Kentucky, and then Old
And then
and
Dark
Fire.
Fire.
Yeah, I want to try those too.
I want to try their Burley Flake as well.
Yeah, there's a lot that I see.
Now you've got the Peter Heinrichs Dark Flake, do you not? I'm pretty sure you do.
that I bought on my own.
No, you did not buy it. It's mine. It's just sitting in on your shelf. I'll let you borrow it.
Yes, I do have that. I have not tried it yet either. I need to try it and get it back to you.
I mean, take your time. I've got plenty of tobacco.
But I like.
Granted, I was thinking about it the other day, so I might take a little bit with me, but I'll leave you the 10.
Oh, okay. However you want to do. I do like that 10. I wish. Sort of with you. I wish they all came in 10s like that. They're like Painter 10.
Mm-hmm. They seem to last longer too.
Yeah.
So how's old Tobracatology doing?
Well, we had a little bit more interaction with it. So hopefully we'll get a few more votes in there, and I think next week we'll probably start it. We'll start our dwindling it down, and next week or the week after.
I try to push Patrick to do it this week, but he's got his holiday coming up on Sunday.
You think I'm right?
Oh, St. Patrick.
Oh yeah, I'm such a good person. They named a holiday after me.
That's right.
No. Yeah. We couldn't do it this week, but yeah, you gotta prepare for old St. Patty's Day. I don't even know what I'll be doing for St. Patty's Day.
I thought you were going downtown. Someone told me you were going downtown.
Well, I have a party to go to in Florence, so I'm not able to go Saturday downtown when a lot of people are going. So, depending on what the people do on Saturday, if they're wanting to do it again on Sunday, then I'm down. But also, I'm starting a crazy diet on Monday, so I don't really think I'm gonna go too hog wild this weekend. I've already gone a week without caffeine and got through the headaches. So.
Oh, man, the caffeine will get to you. It'll stick it to you, won't it?
Well, and that's the thing. I've never really, okay, little story about myself. I've never thought of coffee as a need. Like a lot of people, they wake up and they're like, I need my coffee. I'm like, I need it now. And I'm like, I've never really thought of it as a need. It's more of like that's just the first thing I grab, and it's just, I like the taste. And I'm just, I guess, one of the weird ones. Like, I drink my coffee black most of the time. I do like some sweetener Irish cream every now and again, things like that. But I just don't think of coffee as like I need it to upstart my day, right?
Right.
But then I did. So some days I won't drink coffee. I just won't do it. But I noticed that I'd get headaches every now and again, and I'm starting to think it's probably I didn't have coffee the day or the day before, and it was hitting me, and I just wasn't paying attention to it because again I don't pay attention to my coffee intake.
No, that makes sense.
But then after I realized that on this weird diet I'm not going to be drinking coffee, I was like, well, I better just go ahead and get used to that. And then I started getting headaches. I'm like, well, maybe that's what that is. And but I'm done with it now, so I should be good. It should be right as rain.
It takes about 4 days to shake the old coffee withdrawal, the caffeine withdrawal, I think.
Yeah, see, I haven't had any since Monday. Now, granted, I had decaf coffee on Wednesday. And somebody said that still has a little caffeine in it, but I'm fine now.
Gotcha.
I mean, that tells you how much I like coffee, the taste. I'll drink decaf coffee. I don't care. Caffeine's got nothing to do with it for me. Or I never thought it did. And if that's what it does to you, then it's almost like I never want to drink coffee again. I don't want the daggum headaches.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. Like how quickly your body gets used to something and then demands it, and will have withdrawals from it.
Yeah, I watched some kind of, I think it was like a TED, like the TEDx and the TED Talk, all that stuff. They got little cartoon illustrations on Facebook and YouTube, and I get caught in them sometimes just because they're so full of information about things, and I'm like, man, that's just very interesting. And I saw one talking about caffeine and like sort of what it does to you. Like, you know, it fills in those receptors, and then more receptors will grow out, and so you need more coffee, and then just the cycle keeps going, and then you got to break it to get those, you know, receptors back down, and then, you know, one cup of coffee later, it's gonna be like it's gonna shoot you up. It's just weird, you know. I never thought about it like that, you know. So it's crazy. Caffeine's crazy. I also saw one of those videos talking about muscles, and I didn't realize that the way muscles grow is by tearing them. I didn't realize that. Maybe I just fell asleep in science class. I don't know. But it's a continual tearing, resting, and then you build muscle. Which seems very counterintuitive, but whatever.
Well, apparently that's the reason why they kind of bulge up, is because it's kind of like scarring them. Now, I heard that's probably super wrong, so don't quote me on that. I'm already ready to be wrong about that, but somebody told me that one time, that it's just like, yeah, you're basically scarring them up. You tear it, and they heal, and that's just scar tissue. And
I mean, it makes sense.
It does, but then it also sounds stupid.
Ain't it crazy how most of the answers to life either are so wrong and so stupid, or they're so simple and so right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, it does seem like I have a hard time when someone tells me something. I'm like, that makes sense. Everything seems like that can't possibly be correct. What do you mean? I remember one time my parents told me, when I say one time, I was not a child. I was a full-grown ass adult. And they were like, did you know that hummingbirds migrate on the backs of ducks to South America? And I was like, that is absolutely not true.
absolutely.
There has never been a picture of a hummingbird. I mean, that would be like, everyone would know that. That's just like, no one would be like, it's 2019. National Geographic recently took a photo of a hummingbird riding on the back of a mallard, just through the air, and they were just completely convincing, or they were convinced, and they were just like, no, I'm serious, like, yeah, and I go, where'd you read that from? And they go, all right, so we were out at Joe Wheeler, and there was this guy there, and we were looking at all the hummingbirds because they were migrating, and he said, you know, hummingbirds fly to South America on the backs of ducks. And I was like, yeah, but what? Like, who was he? Was he like John Swanson, PhD, duckotology, or whatever? Yeah, I'm sure that's ornithology, is the study of birds or something. No credentials, just could be some homeless dude just out there like, yeah, you know, hummingbirds, they fly on the backs of ducks because they can't, yeah, they just, that's what they do. It's like, come on, man, like, get that out of here. Like, excuse me. But you can't suss out a lie. Like, I lied to you for so many years, and you knew every single one of them.
And then this random guy.
And then this random dude. Like, I wish I was that convincing when I was a child, but like, no, I don't know what happened to the cake. It must have walked off. And they were like, you're grounded for 7 years.
The cake must have got on the back of a duck and flew to South America.
That's what I should just start blaming everything on ducks. Like, did you know that cake migrates to South America on the backs of ducks?
When you don't eat it. What somebody told me sometime this past month, how funny it is that, you know, growing up, your parents say, you know, don't believe everything that you read, don't believe everything you see on TV or anything like that. And it's just funny, as you get older and as the parents get older, it's almost like they start believing everything they see on the internet and on TV. I'm like, what is happening? Like, almost like a role reversal happens as you get older with your parents.
The burden of a responsible child is that they inherit 2 sets of children. Yes. When they decide to have it. They first get the child that they have when they couple with their wife. Mm-hmm. And then they get the second wave of children, which is your parents when they watch way too much news.
Yep. Talking about, like, like sort of being skeptical and not believing some things. I was watching a show, and the infamous, or I guess he's not infamous, I don't know what he is. Old Alex Jones was on there, and of course everybody knows about him and all his crazy kooky stuff.
Mm-hmm. Y'all buckle up. We're about to get into some 9/11 truther stuff right here. I can feel it.
So I've never really paid attention to the man. I know about him. He just seemed a little bit too outside the realm of where I was going to go when it came to news and stuff like that, and whatever. So he was on this show, and he was talking about, he's going through all this stuff about human cow hybrids, spider guts that made armor or something. Thing, NASA or somebody tried to blow up the atmosphere in the 1960s. All this strange stuff. And about how NASA and the CIA are these two breakaway governments that are competing and fighting over, the control of the world, and all this crazy stuff. And I'm just sort of like, okay, well, maybe you're a little convincing. Okay, maybe I can believe that. And then he goes, yeah, but MSG, that's toxic. And I'm like, well, hold on now. Now everything's going in question for me. And the only reason why that is because, I've read some stuff about MSG and how it's basically just a spice. It's nothing crazy.
Right.
A lot of people say, it makes you more hungry. Which, I did read where it is similar to aspartame, and aspartame does do that. It makes you a little bit more hungry. So I might be able to believe that. But I mean, it's just another spice that, cultures in Asia throw into their food. And people have created this huge anti-MSG movement, and it's like. And, we've all sort of accepted it ever since, the 90s or so. We've all accepted that. And it's just funny how I'm over here listening to this kook talk about all this crazy stuff. Well, I could sort of see where you get that. And then he goes into MSG. I'm like, well, write him off. He's a kook. Just because he said something everybody else believes.
So do you think 9/11 was an inside job, though?
Oh, my God. I've never really thought that, no. No. I've seen videos of 9/11, of those conspiracy videos, and I will say this: I do think that you should question things, but I do think that people need to be aware of their influence in their questioning of things. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't say what you think on TV or let people know it, but you still should have a little bit of, I don't know, you need to take responsibility in your words and your actions, right? You need to know for a fact before you say something like that, before you say it as fact. Now, if all you're doing is questioning, that's fine. I think we should question, but I don't know. I just, the evidence never really seemed in the world of Photoshop and people thinking that this dress, remember that striped dress that everybody thought was black and blue or gold and white? I never saw a black and blue dress. I saw a gold and white dress. And if people can't even agree on that, then I don't know. I just think there's too much doctoring to sort of prove the conspiracy. But that's sort of where I am with that.
Well, you heard it here, folks. Bush did 9/11.
Oh my. No. I think you're trying to push it.
I'm not. Hey, man, I'm just repeating what I heard. And in the age of, what were you saying, doctored photos and stuff, what I heard was Patrick say that he thought Bush did 9/11.
No. Now, listen, for all of Bush, I thought Bush was an all right president. I'm a little not so much on the Patriot Act. Now, you can skin me alive and hang me for saying that, but I'm not so big on that and the Iraq War. But that's hindsight. I can say all I want about things that somebody did wrong 10 years after it happened. But he did fine. But no, he did not. He was not behind that list. Right. Maybe the Democrats in Congress were.
Good.
That makes no sense. I'm kidding.
Really went off the deep end there.
Yeah. No, I'm messing. But there is something to say that I was saying the other day. Our country is so split, so heavily. it's like the only thing that's ever going to pull us back together is something like that. And I hope it never happens. But then again, it's like you always see it. A major catastrophe happens, and then of course it's a rallying of, around the leader.
I know you told me not to talk about this, but
No, you go ahead. I don't care.
but it does have a point. So today, tragedy struck. There was a mass shooting in New Zealand, and our thoughts and prayers go out to those folks. But you were talking about something rallying people together. You would assume something like that would, but as soon as it happened, there was a letter that got pushed out by a politician out of New Zealand who politicized it immediately. Now, I'm not going to say what he did or what he said or whatever. It's not me to say or to comment or negatively or positively. But my question is, and the way I would frame what I'm saying here is, do you think if something like 9/11 happened today, that it would unite or politicize? Because I have this weird feeling, sneaking suspicion that we weren't as deep in as we are now, and it might politicize us. You got to think, it was 20 years ago, basically.
It really depends on what it is. It really depends on it is, because I could see something like 9/11 happening today, but more so like some kind of terrorist group has gotten into the country and has bought all these guns and then carry out an attack. That very well will split. The thing about 9/11 was it didn't touch on anything that splits us today. Like, guns weren't involved. I mean, other than maybe there was guns that for threatening, of course, on the plane, but the guns didn't kill anybody on 9/11. It was nobody in.
I don't know if there were guns on the plane. I thought they used knives or something.
Okay, yeah, okay. See, that's it.
Not just. I'm just saying, like, I'm not like saying you're wrong. I'm just saying.
Well, it makes sense. How would you get a gun on the plane?
Right. I mean, it seems like that'd be pretty difficult.
Yeah. So there you go. So guns weren't a part of it, and so many other things. I mean, were not a part of this. So there really wasn't a way to politicize 9/11, only other than maybe policy as far as I don't know, immigration. Not immigration, but people coming to the country, coming out of the country. But I mean, it did not create a divide, really.
The interesting thing is most countries who are very progressive still have to have stringent immigration policies. I mean, you can't just like everyone pretends like, and this is you're for, you're against it, whatever. I'm not really making a stand. I'm just saying that Canada, you can't just I'm going to be a Canadian citizen today. Yeah. No, it's really difficult to become a Canadian citizen. Really difficult.
Yeah.
Not like now whether or not they need to lighten up or we need to lighten up or we need to get tougher. That's not for me to really comment on this, but it does seem like most Western countries that are relatively progressive have to have border control to a certain degree. Yeah. So, I mean, it's always weird that we point to ourselves as saying that we're not, and it's just like, well, I thought border control and just immigration was just a part of any national policy, just in general. Now, I'm sure the stringency of it, of being very strict or not, is neither here nor there. But like, it does seem like most countries have to have some form of regulation with their border or immigration in general.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times, and it may be the case for a lot of people. I think a lot of times when you hear that they are for stricter, border control and things like that, they're automatically assumed to be some kind of prejudice is pushing it. It's like, and again, that may be the case for a lot of people, but I don't think that's the case for a lot of, relatively intelligent people who think that way.
Right.
I haven't. I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't think it has anything to do with it. I mean, I'm just going to say it. I mean, I'm all for strict laws to keep just like you said, ways of immigration, things like that. There needs to be some kind of checks and balances there. But
it's not just even me saying it. It's not you saying it. It's just this is every country.
Yeah, yeah.
There are laws on the books. I always think it's weird when people talk about like, well, there should be no one that comes in or everyone should come in. I mean, that no country operates like
No.
that.
And again, and that's sort of what I was getting to. Is like I want people to come to this country if they feel like it's going to better themselves. I mean, I like to know the fact that I could go to another country and become a citizen. I mean, that not every country, but a lot of countries, I'd like to go do that, and I expect our country to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But there's, again, there's some kind of, not moderation, but there's got to be some kind of, just regulation of it.
Mm-hmm.
It can't just be done willy nilly. And you were talking about it. It's like, or you weren't talking about it, but you said something that made me think about this. It's so, sometimes maybe the way that the government goes about it, they could probably do it better. Government's never gonna get it right.
They never do.
So,
and I'm not putting my faith in anything like that. I'm just saying any institution that has to regulate people to a certain extent and is governed by a body, they're going to have laws in the books that regulate who stays and who goes in their country.
Yeah.
And that's not that. I mean, that's not prejudiced or racist in tone or anything like that I hear. And it should. I mean, it can. I'm assuming it can be, but I'm just saying like it has nothing to do with it. It just has to do with like it's just a natural order of structured society.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, as the world has progressed from the beginning of time, that's something we've sort of learned along the way. If we're not going to all be under one kind of rule, and we're going to be separate rules, then there's got to be ways, there's got to be a system in place.
Yeah, and it's the way we operate. It's the way we trade. It's the way we provide for our families. And I mean, all that structure is built in to assist.
Yeah.
And, but at the same time, it's like over-regulation will kill you.
Yeah.
I'm in the middle on this kind of stuff. It's like too much can be really dangerous. Too little can be really dangerous.
Yeah. I mean, and my belief has always been number one, the number one at the top of everything. The government's first responsibility is to protect its citizens,
mm-hmm.
and that's just a part of it. I mean that's just what it is. So I mean, y'all getting a little taste of a little bit more taste of Menzak's philosophies, but it's not really a philosophy; it's just statements. We're just making statements.
Well, I mean, it would be difficult to say that, like, it would be strange to attack the fact that, like, all countries have to have some sort of border, period. Arbitrary or, or real, as in, like, a line in geography or a actual wall. I mean, those things exist. And the way you regulate people coming in and out is just the natural order of a structured society. It just seems strange that there's so much argument around it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, but no, I mean, that is one of the big things right now that is pulling us so far apart. And it's like it's such a simple thing. I mean, it's complex, but the base of it is so simple. It's like this is just part of it.
Yeah.
And of course, it definitely reform needs to be there. I think there needs to be constant reform across a lot of things. You just need to keep checking and making sure, are we doing it the right? You need to be questioning yourself. The government should be like an individual person. You need to be questioning your ideals and your thoughts every day, in my opinion. Because you may believe something your entire life, and this one little piece of knowledge you never had changes everything.
Mm-hmm.
So you always need to be in search of that, if that's something you want to do. But the government should be that at all costs. It should be trying to better itself.
Most definitely. I mean, I think anything going through you and I do specific kind of work in an industry that requires quality control.
Yeah.
And management. I don't think anything that goes through human hands should not go through a certain amount of quality control and management if you want that product or deliverable to be, the most right, the most efficient when you send it out the door. That's just the nature of of it going through, a process, and everything goes through that process.
And this may get a little too wild here, but you sort of hit on it right there. Something about, you want things to be the most right. But I think the problem is, in today's world, what is right is now even in question, And I think that's sort of where the waters are getting muddy. Because we can't even agree on things that, is this right? Is it wrong? Or is it just a matter of opinion? It's like, there are certain things that aren't a matter of opinion. They're just a matter of fact. And that's questionable now.
Well, I think that the line is constantly being changed, and I think people question things from personal morality to social morality to political theory and thought, and I think that just over time, lines move and people change, and I think that those kind of splinterings and then sub-splinterings in political parties or movements, that's what you're seeing. You're seeing people who are drawing lines in the sand and they're not crossing it, and then the human mind is only capable of networking with, say, like 100 people. You add in an element like social networks, social media, you're all of a sudden you're in front of thousands. If you're famous enough, 10, 20,000 or millions.
Your influence has now grown.
Right. You're not only your influence, but you're not capable of networking with your brain, with your, the brain that you have, depending on your, dogma, or doctrine or science, evolved or were created or given, or, nature, nurture, or what you were raised to believe. You were only allotted, about 100 individuals you can actively network with. So when you expand out to that level, what does that do to the mind, And then what ends up happening is people can't, because people agreeing with you, and confirmation bias is actually as addictive as nicotine, cocaine, heroin. When someone's saying like, "Yeah, you're right, you're right, you're right," and what you want is that necessary like, click, or share, or post, or something like that.
Whatever.
Retweet. What it does is it becomes sort of like a game, and you're addicted to that exposure, even though your mind can't handle it. And that, coupled with the fact that you will probably seek out like-minded people, I think that's why the last election was so troubling to a lot of people, because when you live inside a personal bubble, it's going to happen again. Trust me. Conservatives are going to go through the same shock factor when they're either Trump or their next candidate loses, if they're advocates of Trump or the next Republican that comes to bat. They're going to be as shocked because people don't interact anymore. No one sees across the aisle. I remember talking to several people. I go, Trump will win. And the reason I believed that was because I had taken a trip to Massachusetts and the Northeast with my wife. And we live in Alabama. So obviously seeing Republican or conservative signage in a red state's not completely abnormal. But then you go to the Northeast, which are typical blue or split, purplish, but typically blue, like Vermont and stuff. I saw an inordinate amount of Trump signage everywhere. Ooh. Everywhere. All over Boston, all over Salem, just through Massachusetts, Connecticut, just everywhere I saw this. And I go, I'm shocked. Yeah. I just didn't expect to see anything for him in these other states. And I came back with this new kind of idea that, I think he's going to be the next president. I think people just dislike Clinton as much as they can, and that they're going to vote in this other guy. Just on the simple fact that maybe they don't like the other candidate.
Or, people maybe they, you had already been through 8 years, and that happens a lot. You get as much as you possibly can of one side. And you're like, well, here, maybe my position is no better than it was 8 years ago. It's time to do something different,
Right.
And that's just part of it. I know the person or the candidate is a different person, right? Like Hillary Clinton is a different candidate than Barack Obama. But people don't see past the party a lot of times. In a lot of people's mind,
and to their detriment,
it's just a Democrat.
Yeah, and to their detriment, you're not really given that favor of not looking at the party.
Yeah,
because the party's so deeply entrenched in their beliefs that it's impossible to see beyond the party lines.
And that might have played in Trump's favor because he is such. He's not a true Republican. Maybe that's what helped a lot of the ways because he wasn't entrenched in the party. He was, I don't know, he's just an outsider. And maybe that's what pulled a lot of people who maybe felt disenfranchised with the Democratic Party or were moderates. I can only speak on how I feel and what I can see.
Yeah, and I'm pretty convinced that a traditional Republican probably wouldn't have won the last election.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah, and yeah, I think you're right.
This got oddly political.
Yeah.
Unusual for both of us to get really, really deep in a political conversation.
Yeah.
But we're not going to apologize for it.
No, and I think that's that's sort of what we need now is just people being unapologetic and talking.
Mm-hmm.
If y'all got comments or whatever, feel free to talk. Of course, we want civil engagement.
Be civil.
Yeah.
But tell us where we're wrong. Tell us where we're. I don't really like to hear when I'm right. I prefer to hear when I'm wrong. I want to know why you think the way you do makes me question my own beliefs. So if you want to get into an argument about it, have at it, man, because I really do enjoy that kind of back and forth because it makes me have to dive in a little deeper into some of the things that I consider when I talk.
Yeah, and I mean you're on. I mean, he's not lying because I think that's what makes us really good friends. Is that now I want to be right, but I'm okay with being wrong. But that's what makes us such good friends. I think is that I'm usually I at least try to think about what I'm going to say long enough to think, okay, I think I'm right, and then we create some kind of conversation, and that's sort of.
What he's referencing, and he's being really polite. I'm sort of a madman when it comes to certain conversations. I will throw out really blanketed statements, sometimes for humor, sometimes just because I just want to see what happens and get a specific rise out of people, just to see what they say. I've made crazy statements. We won't go into them, but sometimes I will throw a blanket statement out, and the sheer horror that crosses Patrick's face is actually a delight of mine. Actually, I think he's probably the kind of sick drug that I crave when I see his face, when he's just in shock about what I just said. So it's really crazy. I have to pull back. I'm just like, oh, I think I went too far. But this is the kind of dichotomy that he and I have. I usually will say something really intense, and then Patrick, much like my wife will do for me, will rein me in, and then I come to a better conclusion. But I'm not afraid to be wrong. It's usually good to be wrong.
Yeah, and it goes back to that. Trying to question yourself and better yourself.
Mm-hmm. Well,
yeah,
I'm at the bottom of my bowl, man.
Yeah, I'm all ash.
Nothing
else, baby. All right. Well, hope y'all enjoyed it, and we'll catch y'all the next time.
Thanks, guys.
This has been a Pipecast production.
And we hope to see you at the next Full Bowl.